Hey everybody, and welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of Islam.
Ooh.
I know, right? It's going to be fascinating. I've got excerpts here from a couple sources.
Okay.
Brief guide to understanding Islam, and frequently asked questions about Islam.
Okay.
So we're going to be pulling from those and kind of seeing what we can learn and uncover.
Awesome.
So where do we even begin with something like this?
I think.
What is Islam?
Yeah.
When we say that word, what does that even mean?
Right. I think it's important to define our terms right off the bat.
Yeah.
Both sources emphasize that Islam is about accepting and obeying the teachings of God as revealed to the Prophet Muhammad.
So it's about, like, aligning your life with the will of a higher power.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess. But then that raises all sorts of other questions, like how much free will do people really have if everything is kind of predetermined?
That's where the concept of al-Qadar comes in.
Okay.
Divine predestination.
Right.
Which is a really complex and nuanced idea.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds pretty heavy.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not about taking away human agency.
Okay.
What about recognizing God's perfect knowledge of the past, present, and future?
So God knows everything that's going to happen.
Right.
But we still have the ability to make choices.
Exactly. It's like, imagine a tapestry where every thread is known.
Oh, okay.
But the weaver still has the freedom to choose the patterns.
I like that. That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's back up for a sec.
Sure.
Both of our sources talk about these, like, 6 core beliefs of Islam.
Yes.
What are some of the big ones?
Absolutely. So we talked about belief in divine predestination.
Right.
The other 5 are belief in God, his angels, his books, the Day of Judgment, and the prophets.
Okay, so a lot of the kind of basic...
The foundational elements of a lot of faith.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
So belief in angels, that's always one that I find really intriguing. Like, what do angels do? What are they like?
Right. Are they just kind of like heavenly bureaucrats?
Yeah.
You know, carrying out orders?
Yeah.
They're seen as these pure and sinless beings, constantly worshiping God and carrying out his will.
Oh, okay.
They represent that vastness and complexity of creation.
So kind of like a reminder that there are forces beyond our comprehension.
Exactly.
Okay, so not little babies with wings.
No, not quite.
All right, good to know. And speaking of things that are difficult to grasp, a brief guide mentions this whole concept of scientific miracles in the Qur'an.
Oh, yeah.
What's that all about?
It's super interesting, right?
Yeah.
The idea is that certain verses in the Quran revealed over 1,400 years ago actually align with modern scientific discoveries.
Oh, wow.
Like, one example is the detailed description of human embryonic development.
Hold on. So they're saying that the Qur'an, like, predicted.
It described things in a way that we've only recently been able to confirm through science.
That's wild. I mean, how is that even possible?
Right. Was the Prophet Muhammad secretly a time traveler?
Right.
Or is this evidence of divine revelation?
Okay, so big questions.
Big question.
All right, well, we've talked about the Qur'an itself, but what about the man who received it?
Right.
What was the Prophet Muhammad like as a person?
Well, a brief guide paints a really fascinating picture of his life.
Okay.
He was known for his honesty and trustworthiness, even before he became a prophet.
Really?
Yeah, he was actually nicknamed the Trustworthy.
Wow. So not exactly the image that some people might have of a power-hungry prophet?
Not at all.
Yeah.
He endured a ton of hardship and persecution for spreading God's message.
Really?
Yeah. Imagine choosing a life of poverty and danger when you could have had wealth and power.
That's intense.
It
is. Okay, well, that definitely challenges some assumptions. And on that note, let's talk about the Islamic view of Jesus, because I know that's another area where there can be some misunderstanding.
For sure. It's important to be clear that Muslims deeply respect and revere Jesus.
Okay.
They see him as one of God's greatest messengers.
So where do the differences lie?
Right. Well, for example, Muslims believe in the virgin birth of Jesus. They acknowledge his miracles like healing the sick and raising the dead. They even have a whole chapter dedicated to Mary in the Qur'an.
Oh, wow.
But they don't believe in his divinity.
Okay.
To them, he was a prophet and messenger, not the Son of God.
So there are some key distinctions there.
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay, well, I feel like we've laid some good groundwork here.
Yeah, I think so.
We've kind of gotten a basic understanding of what Islam is.
We've got the foundation.
The core beliefs, the role of the Qur'an, and even touched upon the Prophet Muhammad's life and the Islamic view of Jesus.
For sure.
But this is really just the beginning.
Oh, yeah. We've got a lot more to uncover.
In part 2, we're going to be diving into contemporary issues and how Islam addresses them.
Can't wait.
So make sure you stick around for that.
It's going to be good. Welcome back.
So we've established some foundational knowledge.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of curious to see how these principles translate to real-world issues.
Absolutely.
Like, for example, the 5 pillars of Islam.
It's more than just a list, right? It's like a framework for living.
Exactly. Each pillar has a really profound impact on an individual's relationship with God, their community, and even themselves.
Okay, so give me an example.
Okay, so like zakat, often translated as charity, but it's more nuanced than that.
Okay, so break it down for me.
Well, think of it as a spiritual tax, but one that's designed to foster economic balance and growth.
So it's not just about, like, giving money away.
Right. It's not just about individual giving.
Okay.
A brief guide even compares it to pruning a plant to encourage new life.
So it's about kind of like circulating wealth, making sure that everybody benefits.
Precisely. It's recognizing that our individual prosperity is tied to the well-being of the community.
It's about, like, creating a more just society.
Exactly.
What about you? Have you ever, like, encountered a similar concept in your own life?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Study different economic models. I've come across quite a few systems designed to promote economic justice. And what's so fascinating about zakat is that it's deeply rooted in faith and spirituality.
Right, so it's not just an economic policy.
It's a personal commitment.
Okay, that's really interesting. But, unfortunately, there's often this disconnect between the peaceful principles at the heart of Islam and how it's sometimes portrayed in the media.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Islamophobia.
Right. It's a really unfortunate reality that many Muslims face discrimination and prejudice based on their faith.
Yeah, and it's just not fair.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's like painting an entire group of people with such a broad brush.
Frequently Asked Questions tackles the issue of terrorism head-on, stating very clearly that Islam forbids it.
Yeah, and they include some really powerful quotes from the Qur'an and Prophet Muhammad, condemning violence against innocent people.
It's a reminder that actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
And both sources emphasize that Muslims are just as diverse as any other population group.
Oh, absolutely. There's no such thing as a typical Muslim. They come from all walks of life, hold a variety of beliefs, and contribute to society in so many different ways.
So it's important to remember that complexity.
It is.
To see beyond the stereotypes and engage with the richness of individual experiences.
I couldn't agree more.
What are some of the misconceptions you've encountered about Islam?
One of the biggest ones I've heard is this idea that Islam oppresses women.
Oh, yeah, that's a common one.
Which is simply not true.
Okay.
Islam grants women a number of rights.
Like what?
The right to own property, inherit wealth, and even pursue education.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's unfortunate that cultural practices in some regions have become intertwined with religious beliefs.
So it's about separating the cultural from the religious?
Right.
That can't be easy.
It does require critical thinking, open dialogue, and a willingness to challenge our own assumptions.
So education is really key here.
Absolutely. The more we learn about the true teachings of Islam and the lived experiences of Muslims, the better equipped we are to dismantle those harmful stereotypes.
Okay, so education, open dialogue, but what about the role of media?
Right. How do we address the negative portrayals that fuel Islamophobia?
Yeah.
That's a huge challenge. We need to be critical consumers of media, question the narratives being presented,
and seek out diverse perspectives.
Exactly.
So it's about holding those in power accountable.
It is.
Pushing back against sensationalism and fear-mongering.
Absolutely. It's a collective effort. We all have a responsibility to speak out against injustice.
Yeah.
Amplify the voices of those who are marginalized and create a more inclusive and understanding world.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part.
I think so too.
From the complexities of zakat to the ongoing struggle against Islamophobia.
Yeah.
It's clear that understanding Islam requires going beyond surface-level assumptions.
It really does. It's a journey of continuous learning and unlearning.
Challenging our own biases, seeking out authentic perspectives.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And speaking of authentic perspectives in part 3, I'd love to delve into the more personal and spiritual aspects of Islam.
That sounds great.
What does it mean to truly submit to God's will? How does faith provide guidance and meaning in the face of life's challenges? Stick with us as we continue our exploration.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've gone through a lot.
Yeah.
We've talked about some of the core tenets of Islam. We've explored its stance on some contemporary issues.
Right.
But now I'm feeling kind of like introspective,
Yeah.
We talk about submitting to God's will, but what does that actually look like? Like on a daily basis in your everyday life?
Yeah, that's a question that resonates far beyond just Islam. I think it touches on this kind of universal human yearning for purpose and meaning.
Totally.
Yeah.
For something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly.
Frequently asked questions, talks about this idea of finding peace and happiness through like remembrance of God. Almost like grounding yourself, connecting to that source of strength and wisdom.
Yeah.
And for Muslims, that connection is nurtured through prayer reflection and acts of service.
So it's about kind of cultivating that awareness of God's presence in every aspect of life. So your decisions, your interactions, everything.
Right. It's not just about blind obedience.
Okay.
But making that conscious effort to align your actions with that higher purpose.
But what about when things get tough, you know?
Yeah.
Life throws curveballs.
It does.
How does faith help people navigate those challenges?
That's where the concept of tawakkul comes in.
Okay.
Which is trust in God.
Okay.
It's about accepting that we don't have control over everything, but finding solace and strength in knowing that God has a plan.
Even when we can't see it.
Exactly. It's like surrendering to the current of a river.
Oh, I like that.
Trusting that it'll eventually lead you to your destination.
Okay, that makes sense. But it also makes me wonder about something.
What's that?
A brief guide mentions this phenomenal growth of Islam, especially in the West. So if life is about submitting to God's will, why are so many people drawn to Islam in a world that feels increasingly secular?
That's a complex question.
It is.
I think part of it stems from this search for meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
You know, in a world that often feels pretty chaotic and uncertain.
Totally. People are yearning for something more, something beyond just the material.
Right.
But what about the challenges within the Muslim community itself? We've talked about Islamophobia. Are there like internal struggles as well?
Oh, of course. Like any faith, Islam faces its own set of challenges in the modern world.
Okay.
You know, there are debates about interpretations of scripture, navigating cultural differences, and that constant kind of struggle to balance tradition with modernity.
So it's not this like monolithic entity.
No, not at all.
There's diversity of thought and experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have Muslims in every corner of the globe, each navigating their faith within their own unique cultural context.
It's like a tapestry of stories and traditions.
And interpretations.
Right.
Exactly.
But there's still that like underlying sense of unity.
There is.
That shared sense of belonging.
Definitely.
To this global community.
The Hajj, the annual pilgrimage to Mecca, is a really powerful symbol of that unity.
Wow.
Millions of Muslims from all walks of life, from every corner of the world, come together in this shared act of devotion.
It's got to be incredible to witness.
It really is.
You know, as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I'm just really struck by the depth and complexity of Islam.
Me too.
It's a faith that challenges stereotypes, sparks these really profound questions, and offers a really unique perspective on the human experience.
It's been an amazing journey, hasn't it?
It has.
And like any good journey, it leaves us with more questions than answers.
Always.
A desire to keep learning, to delve deeper, and continue exploring.
And that's the beauty of it.
It is.
The journey of understanding is never truly over.
Right.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world around you.
Until next time.
Peace be with you.